In this demonstration on AWS, we're going to go over the regions and availability zones. As you may already know, AWS is a cloud service provider that allows you to deploy and manage your applications and services across the globe. To help with this, AWS provides a unique feature called regions and availability zones. Now, if we read through this, we see that currently AWS has 31 launched regions, each with multiple availability zones. Currently have 99 availability zones, 410 points of presence, 400 edge locations, and 13 regional edge caches. So we're going to go over those really quick. Now, what is an AWS region? So an AWS region is a physical location that hosts AWS resources such as EC2 instances, S3 buckets, RDS databases, and much more. These regions are spread across the globe, and each region is a separate geographic area that comprises of multiple availability zones. So let's look through really quick. Just going to scroll down here, and it's going to give us a full world view of the AWS infrastructure from the standpoint of regions and availability zones. So we see here we have Canada West, which is coming soon. That's what the red dot stands for. The turquoise colors means that they're currently available. So that's something that's in production right now for AWS. We have the Oregon region, which was launched in 2011, which has 4 availability zones, 7 local zones, and 5 wavelength zones. So let's go over each one of those really quick. An availability zone, or AZ, is simply one or more data centers within an AWS region. Each AZ is located in a separate geographic location, typically miles apart from each other, with its own power, networking, and connectivity. So by launching instances in a separate AZ, you can protect your applications and data from failure and downtime. So that's what availability zone is. Literally, as mentioned, there's 4 different sites or areas within the Oregon region that have redundancy and fault tolerance capabilities. Now let's move on to the local zones. In AWS, our local zones, they're like mini AWS regions that are located in specific metropolitan areas. Now they give customers who are nearby very low latency access to AWS services like Amazon EC2, which stands for the Elastic Compute Cloud, VPC, which stands for Virtual Private Cloud, and EBS, which is the Elastic Block Store. Now, local zones are great for workloads that need to be lightning fast and close to the end user. And lastly, we have the wavelength zone. Wavelength zones in AWS are special AWS regions that are located inside of telecommunication providers' data centers, right? So think about AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, etc. They're designed to bring AWS services right to the edge of the 5G cellular network, so developers can create applications that have super fast connections to the end users over 5G. Wavelength zones are only available in the metropolitan areas in the US and Europe right now. Now let's continue to look around the globe. You see we have some in Northern California, launched in 2009. Okay. AWS, the government cloud. The government is a big user of AWS from my own experience. They've actually been authorized to go up to at least a secret level when it comes to information being processed on their networks. So that's a big win for AWS in that standpoint. But we know the other service providers can also provide similar levels of security as well. Canada Central here, launched in 2016. We see these things are kind of spread out from the standpoint of launch dates, etc. So they're constantly expanding and trying to figure out how to do things better. Okay, Ohio, another government cloud here, the east side. And let's go overseas. And we look, there's a huge concentration over here in Europe. We must note that a lot of the locations are strategic relative to the country's use of computing powers, networking resources, and also geopolitical standards, conflicts, etc. All these play a part in a big role into where AWS decides to put their networking and computing infrastructure. Okay, so you see Ireland, Europe, a lot of different places. Now, back to my original statement, in countries where it's not as much economic activity going on, not a lot of computing power, we have smaller amounts of availability zones. We see we only have one here in South America, only one here in Africa. We'll have a few here in Australia, which most of Australia is honestly empty and everything kind of lives on the edges. We see we have one here coming soon in Auckland, New Zealand. We see we have some in the China area with Beijing, Tokyo, Japan area, high-tech center in Seoul. We see we have a wavelength zone there. And if you was noticing what was going through, a lot of these different areas didn't have all 3 types of options like we saw in the Oregon region. They're constantly expanding and adding new services. And last but not least, we went over the launch zones, availability zones, but we didn't go over the points of presence. Now, in AWS, a point of presence refers to the physical location where AWS Direct Connect service providers or AWS Global Accelerator deploy their network infrastructure. A POP provides a connection between a customer's network and the AWS Global Network. Customers can use the POP to establish a dedicated and private network connection to AWS services, which bypass the public internet and provides higher reliability, low latency, and increased security. Now, let's switch really quick to the edge location. Edge locations are places where data is cached for faster content delivery and better usage experience. So all these big companies, for example, everyone knows Netflix, they're going to use a CDN or content delivery network, which uses these edge locations. And pretty much what it does is create a replica of that information, which caches the content and creates a lower latency environment. But we can see here that AWS has over 400 edge locations and 13 regional edge caches in more than 100 cities around the world. All right, so we just scroll down here and give us a little bit more information about the things that AWS regions have for its AWS customers. All right, now if you're interested, of course, you can always come to this documentation and review more information in depth about their sales pitch of why cloud infrastructure matters, etc. So we went over a demonstration of just seeing what the regions and availability zones and points of presence look like when it comes to AWS's infrastructure. And hopefully that gives you a better feel of what it means when I refer to regions, availability zones, and understanding how these particular solutions can help your organization.